Ow! Dear Tim and Moby, how do levers work? From Mikey. I think Moby just got a taste of levers in action. They're pretty powerful because they can turn a little effort into a lot of force. A lever is a kind of simple machine with 4 parts. The lever itself is just a long rod or board made of something sturdy. It sits on top of a fulcrum, the point where the lever turns or pivots. That's how it moves the load, the weight or resistance that needs to be overcome. And the effort is the force you apply to the lever. All levers have these 4 elements, but they can be rearranged. This is a Class 1 or first class lever. The fulcrum is positioned between the effort and the load. A seesaw is a good example of a Class 1 lever. So is an old-fashioned scale. The thing to remember with levers is that distance and effort are linked. If you increase the distance over which you exert force, then you can decrease the amount of force and still get the job done. It's like the difference between trying to lift a refrigerator straight up over your head and pushing it up a ramp to the same height. The total amount of effort is the same in both cases, but pushing it up the ramp lets you extend the effort over a longer distance, so you don't have to push as hard. Take a look at this simple Class 1 lever. See how the fulcrum is in the middle? Lifting Moby in this case requires a lot of force. To lift Moby to the top, we have to exert force over this distance here. We can increase the distance by moving the fulcrum towards him. Since the distance is increased, the amount of force needed to lift him is decreased. Let's check out some more levers. The fulcrum in a Class 2 lever can be found all the way at one end, which means the effort is always applied at the other end, and the load is somewhere in between. Like a wheelbarrow, that's a Class 2 lever. Since the load is close to the fulcrum, the effort needed to lift the load is spread out, and lifting is easier. In both Class 1 and Class 2 levers, the effort needed to move the load is smaller than the load, but the effort travels over a greater distance across the lever than the load moves up and down. In Class 3 levers, it's the other way around. The effort needed to move the load is actually greater than the load itself. They have a fulcrum at one end like a Class 2 lever, but the effort is applied in the middle. Class 3 levers are useful for applying force precisely. Tweezers are Class 3 levers. So is your arm. Before Moby and I understood levers, playing on a seesaw was about as much fun as waiting for a bus. But if Moby, who weighs about twice as much as me, moves halfway up the seesaw, we can balance with no problem. Ah!